Level 1. Ibyong. You are 17 years old. You don't choose this. Draft registration happened at 14. Pre-induction physicals at 16. And now, on a Tuesday morning in late autumn, a government courier arrives at your family's apartment in Sariwon, the capital of North Hwanghae Province, and hands your father a folded document. Your name, your assigned unit, your departure date, 3 weeks from now. Your father takes the letter without speaking. He folds it once and places it on the kitchen table as though it is any other piece of paper. Your mother starts the evening meal an hour earlier than usual. Nobody mentions the letter again. 3 weeks later, a military bus idles in the district square before dawn. 14 boys from your area climb in without ceremony. You recognize one of them, Han Songgil, who sat 2 rows ahead of you in school. He doesn't look at you. You don't look at him. The bus drives north for 8 hours. The training base in Ryanggang Province sits at high elevation, surrounded by pine forest and bare stone ridgelines. You arrive at dusk. A drill sergeant meets the bus at the gate. He is not loud. He simply points toward a concrete building and says, "That's where you sleep." 60 men share one room. Iron bunk beds bolted to the walls in 3 tiers. That first night, you sleep fully uniformed, padded jacket, socks, everything, because the room has no heating. Wind moves through the window frames constantly. Wake up is 4:30 a.m. You run 5 kilometers before sunrise carrying a wooden rifle replica. Actual weapons are issued only during supervised training. A sergeant tells you, a soldier who cannot suffer with wood is not ready to fire steel. Food is served twice a day. Morning, corn porridge, oksusujuk, thin, unsalted, a metal bowl that holds almost nothing. Evening, the same. Within 2 weeks, hunger stops feeling like a signal. It becomes background. Every Saturday evening, your company gathers for Sengwal Chonghua, the weekly self-criticism session. Soldiers sit in rows. Each man confesses a shortcoming from the week. Others criticize him. Then he criticizes someone else before sitting back down. The first time you participate, you confess that you lost concentration during the 3rd reading of the weekly political text. Vague enough to be unchallengeable. Specific enough to sound honest. The section leader writes something down. After 12 weeks of basic training, you are assigned to an infantry unit. A single, narrow stripe goes on your collar. Ibyong. You are a unit of manpower in a system that does not particularly need to know your name. You learn this quickly, and then you learn how to survive inside it. Level 2. Sangbyong. You are 20 years old, 3 years in. Assigned to an infantry battalion in South Hwanghae Province, stationed near Hoju, roughly 50 kilometers north of the demilitarized zone. From the high ground on your patrol route, you can make out distant mountains to the south. Nobody comments on what's beyond them. Your weapon is the Type 88 assault rifle, the KPA's standard infantry arm, modeled on the Soviet AK-74 and produced domestically since the late 1980s. You are issued 30 rounds per month for live fire training. Every round is logged by serial number against your name. A single round discrepancy requires a report signed by your squad leader, countersigned by the company political officer, and filed with the regiment. You have never had a discrepancy. 2 stripes now. Sangbyong. You patrol a 6-kilometer perimeter stretch twice daily. The terrain doesn't change. The rhythm doesn't change. One afternoon, you draw paired patrol duty with a soldier from a neighboring company. Oh Guang, 22, from Hamhung. He's the kind of person who talks when there's nothing to say, which in this environment is unusual. During a rest stop at the midpoint, he sits on a stone wall and stares at the tree line. He says, "Do you think about what you'll do after?" You say you haven't decided. He nods. Then he mentions, in the same even tone, that a cousin works at a steel facility in Chongjin, and the plant hasn't run at full capacity in 2 years because electricity is rationed after noon. He says it the way people say things when they've carried them too long. Back at base, you write his name in the weekly observation log. expressed concern regarding industrial conditions in the civilian sector, likely family-related anxiety, monitoring for recurrence, the safest possible language, not protecting him, managing the risk between what he said and what it could become in someone else's paperwork. Guang is not transferred. Whether your phrasing contributed to that or whether his comment simply wasn't significant enough to pursue, you will never know. That uncertainty is something you carry forward. Your quarterly evaluation uses one word: observant. In the Korean People's Army, observant is not a compliment about perception. It is confirmation that you have understood what the system actually requires of you. Level 3. Byongjang. You are 22 years old. 3 stripes. Byongjang. You are now responsible for a section of 8 soldiers, all younger, most in their first or second year of service. You inspect boots. You inspect weapon barrels. You check that every soldier's political study notebook is current, a minimum of 3 written entries per week. A notebook below that threshold is a documentation failure, and documentation failures reflect directly on you. Every Saturday, your company conducts Sengwal Chonghwa. As section leader, you no longer sit inside the circle. You sit at the edge and observe. You track who hesitates, who confesses too quickly, who looks at the floor during someone else's criticism. These are the signals the political officer is reading. You learn to read them first. One of your soldiers, Park Chun, 18, from a farming county in South Pyongan, consistently struggles. He confesses minor things in a flat tone the political officer reads as inattentiveness. After the 3rd consecutive week, the company political officer, Lieutenant Nam Gi-ho, pulls you aside. He opens his notebook to a page where Park Chun's name appears under Reduced Ideological Engagement, Pattern, Not Isolated. He asks what you've observed. You describe Park Chun as a soldier who performs reliably during physical training but struggles translating ideological study into active verbal participation. You suggest structured supplementary sessions with a senior section member. Lieutenant Nam writes it down. He says, "You see clearly." Park Chun completes 4 weeks of supplementary political education. By month's end, his Sengwal Chonghwa performances are indistinguishable from anyone else's. You don't know whether your framing protected him or whether you simply gave the political officer something actionable while your section's rating stayed intact. The 2 outcomes are not mutually exclusive. That is precisely what makes it difficult to examine. At the end of the year, your company commander writes one word at the bottom of your evaluation: reliable. In the Korean People's Army, no word in a service file carries more weight or more responsibility than that one. Before we go further, if you've made it this far, comment what you want next. Hit that like button right now and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We upload every single day. Level 4. Hasa. You are 25 years old. A selection officer visited your battalion during the quarterly review cycle and spent 2 days reading files. On the 3rd morning, your name was on a list. You did not request this. You were not consulted. 1 chevron above your stripes. Hasa. Non-commissioned officer. The distinction matters more than it appears. Conscripts pass through the enlisted ranks and are discharged. NCOs inhabit the institution permanently. You are now part of the structure itself. You are reassigned to a mechanized infantry regiment in North Hwangha Province. Your responsibilities include training oversight for 2 squads and weekly coordination meetings with both the company political officer and the company commander. The meetings reveal a dynamic invisible from below. The company political officer, Captain Ri Jun-ho, holds equal authority to the company commander on all ideological matters. The commander manages operations, deployments, maintenance, training calendars. Captain Ri manages everything else. Whose file needs a notation? Who is being monitored? Every operational decision passes through an implicit filter. Does this create an ideological documentation problem? If yes, it is adjusted, not blocked. Adjusted. After your first combined meeting, the company commander says only, "You'll learn what to report and what to manage internally." You already know. You've known since you were 22, watching Park Chun in the Sengwal Chonghua Circle. What's different now is the scale, and the fact that the file it goes into is yours, signed, dated, permanently accessible to anyone above you in the chain. Level 5. Songsa. You are 29 years old, 14 years in service. You have re-enlisted twice. You have advanced further inside this structure than most men who entered with you, and the civilian world has nothing equivalent to offer someone who has spent their entire adult life inside a military command environment. 3 chevrons. Sangsa. You oversee training operations for a full company, approximately 110 soldiers, and coordinate with 4 Hassa-level NCOs below you. This year, your regiment participates in a combined arms exercise in the Kaesong region, less than 8 kilometers from the DMZ perimeter. 11 days. Artillery coordination, armored vehicles, infantry movement across 40 kilometers of operational area, live rounds on days 4 and 8. On the 6th night, a private from the 3rd Squad fractures his ankle during a night march. The battalion medical officer assesses at 2:10 a.m. under a tarp. Evacuation required. The request clears the chain in under 30 minutes. You log the incident. Time, name, injury, approval reference. The following morning, during the exercise briefing, the regimental political officer mentions the evacuation in passing. He doesn't criticize it. He asks one question. Was the private's training load appropriate in the days leading up to the march? Everyone looks at the training calendar. The training calendar is yours. Your name is on the header of every page. You describe the load as standard protocol for the exercise phase. You cite the approved framework by document number and issue date. The political officer writes something down and moves on. Nothing comes of it. The exercise concludes. The regiment is congratulated. But that question, asked once, written once, filed somewhere, stays with you. Because an answer that satisfies today is not the same as an answer that is forgotten tomorrow. Files are permanent. Your name on that calendar is a reference point that can be reopened whenever anyone needs one. Your annual evaluation demonstrates thorough command of administrative procedure. Thorough, administrative, not commendable, not distinguished. You understand precisely what that means. Level 6. SOE. You are 33 years old. You have been commissioned. Most KPA officers enter through dedicated academies. Kim Il-sung Military University in Pyongyang, or the Mangyongdae Revolutionary School, which takes students from elite families and produces commissioned officers at 22 or 23. Rising from the NCO ranks to a commission at 33 is uncommon. It happens when a political officer, reviewing a file across many years, determines that ideological reliability and administrative consistency merit elevation. Captain Ri Junho wrote the recommendation. You didn't know until after the commission was confirmed. A single gold bar on your collar. SOE. Second Lieutenant. You attend a 12-week officer integration course at the Kangwon Province Military Officers School. Strategy, logistics, command protocol, and political education structured for commissioned personnel. At officer level, political education is not recitation. It is analysis. Officers study components of the 10 principles of monolithic ideology weekly and submit written analyses of how each principle applies to their command role. Analyses are read aloud. The group responds. The political instructor evaluates both content and delivery. One officer in your cohort, Yoon Chol-jin, sharp, from a military family in Pyongyang, delivers his analysis with excessive confidence. He provides historical context, not in the assigned reading. He cites a 1975 speech by Kim Il-sung, unprompted. The political instructor thanks him without expression. 2 days later, Yoon Chol-jin is called to a private meeting with the senior political officer. After the meeting, he is quieter. His subsequent analyses are shorter, considerably less distinctive. When your own analysis is evaluated, the instructor says, clear, appropriate, measured, at officer level. Performance that exceeds what the system asked for is not an asset, it is a question. Questions at this level take weeks to surface consequences, never in the moment they're first asked. Measured costs you nothing. At this rank, that is the only rational goal. Level 7. Dewi. You are 38 years old. You command a company of 107 soldiers in an armored regiment near Wonsan on the east coast. From a gap in the hills at the edge of the base perimeter, you can see the Sea of Japan on clear days. Your soldiers don't comment on it. Neither do you. Your name appears on documents that travel to the regimental and occasionally division level. Operational plans, monthly readiness certifications, logistics summaries. Each document is a point on a record someone above you can always review. This year, your company is evaluated by an inspection team from the KPA General Staff Department, officers with no unit affiliation who answer directly to Pyongyang. 10 days of observation, weapon maintenance, political session attendance, documentation completeness, drill performance. On the 7th day, one inspector requests your ammunition usage records for the previous 6 months. You produce them within the hour. He marks 3 entries where the recorded round count doesn't align with the rangemaster's separate log. 17 rounds across 3 sessions. They were expended in a supplementary drill logged under a different document classification, a filing issue, not an inventory one. You explain it. You produce the supplementary documentation. You give the reference numbers verbally and in writing. He writes everything down. He moves on. The evaluation debrief. Satisfactory with minor administrative variance noted. Satisfactory, you passed. Minor, not escalated. Administrative, the explanation was accepted. Variance noted. Permanent record. Over the following 2 weeks, you reorganize your entire filing system. No training activity, regardless of size, sits under an ambiguous code again. You don't do this out of fear. You do it because you now understand that the distance between a filing inconsistency and a career notation is not as large as it should be. Level 8. Daeryong. You are 44 years old. You are brought to Pyongyang. 4 silver stars on your epaulette. Daeryong. Colonel. Assigned to the Operations Directorate within the KPA General Staff Department. You have a driver, Choe Mansik, who takes the same 4 routes on rotation and rarely speaks. An apartment in Moranbong District. Your children attend a school reserved for families at this rank. Your work involves comparing readiness assessments from field commands across 3 military districts against independent intelligence, logistics data, signals analysis, satellite imagery that arrives in a classified folder each Tuesday and Friday. The reported figures are consistently optimistic, carefully so. A unit reports 94% equipment readiness. The imagery suggests 78. Another reports full quarterly training completion. The fuel data suggests 81%. The gaps are architectural, built into every level below you and passed upward as a quiet institutional agreement that the numbers reaching Pyongyang must tell a story of strength. Your superior, Major General Kang Byung-sam, reviews your weekly summaries before they travel up the chain. On the 3rd week, he opens your document, changes 2 figures upward with a pen to align with the field reports, and hands it back. 40 seconds. No explanation. You understand completely. You begin maintaining 2 working documents. The accurate analysis goes into a locked drawer. The adjusted version travels upward. You know the lock provides no real security here, but you maintain the document anyway. Not as evidence, not as protection, as a private record that the distance between what is true and what is reported has a specific number, and you are one of the few people who knows what it is. Level 9. Jungjang. You are 51 years old. 2 gold stars on your epaulette. Rows of merit decorations across your chest. Zhengjiang, Lieutenant General, Corps level command over 4 divisions, approximately 40,000 troops, and a combined weapons portfolio including self-propelled artillery, armored formations, and surface-to-surface missile batteries. You attend meetings at a compound on the northwest edge of Pyongyang. Phones surrendered at the gate. No written notes leave the building. The topics are unlike anything in your prior career. Submarine patrol routes in the East Sea, missile battery readiness posture along the western coast, contingency planning matrices for specific border scenarios. At one meeting, a chair is empty. General O. Sockman sat there for 11 years. He is not present. His name is not mentioned. The meeting begins on time. You do not look at the empty chair for more than a moment. 3 weeks later, through an indirect channel, a comment from a senior aide, carefully worded, not repeated. You learn that General O made a statement in a closed briefing, documented as reflecting insufficient confidence in strategic leadership judgment. He has been reassigned to a non-operational position in a remote Ryanggang province facility. No classified access. No presence in Pyongyang. 58 years old. 36 years of documented loyalty. 1 sentence. Wrong room. Wrong audience. You think about O Guang mentioning his cousin's factory on a patrol break. You think about Yun Choljin's analysis that was too detailed. You think about Major General Kang's pen moving across your figures in 40 seconds. Every career-ending moment you have witnessed was not caused by incompetence. It was caused by a visible gap between what a person actually believed or reported and what the system required in that exact moment. General O's gap was 1 sentence, after 36 years of providing no gaps at all. At the next advisory meeting, you arrive 7 minutes early. You maintain the expression that decades of practice have made indistinguishable from conviction. You speak when asked. You use the correct language. You do not pause where pausing would be noticed. Level 10, Daejiang. You are 56 years old. The summons comes on a Wednesday at 6:50 a.m. 2 officers from the General Political Bureau arrive at your quarters, composed, polite, using the language of administrative procedure. A review has been initiated. They ask you to come with them. The review concerns a missile systems readiness evaluation that passed through your corps-level command 22 months ago. The operational readiness rate for a surface-to-surface battery in your 2nd Division was reported at 91%. An internal audit places the accurate figure at 73. That figure was submitted by a division commander, passed through your directorate, and forwarded to the General Staff in a consolidated summary. Your name is on the summary as the certifying authority. The review runs 9 weeks. You are housed in a government facility in southern Pyongyang, clean, heated, quietly isolated. Your driver does not come. Your aide does not call. No classified briefings. No operational networks. No information channels of any consequence. The isolation is not accidental. It is the punishment. At the end of 9 weeks, a junior aide delivers a single document without making eye contact. Senior advisory role. KPA Regional Military Education Facility, Hamhung, South Hamgyong Province. You are not imprisoned. Your rank is not formally revoked. The paperwork calls it a reassignment aligned with current service requirements. Within 3 weeks, your name is removed from the General Staff's active personnel registry. The portrait that hung in the Operations Directorate corridor for 8 years comes down. A training doctrine framework you co-authored, still in use across 4 military districts, is reissued in an updated edition. Your name does not appear on it. You are not erased dramatically. You are edited out, quietly, from the record of a structure you served for 39 years. In Hamhung, you teach operational command doctrine to lieutenants in their early 20s. They sit in neat rows. They take careful notes. They address you respectfully. They have no idea who you were. You wake at 4:30 a.m. out of habit. You read the political briefing circulars, 3 days late, summarized, no classified attachments. One evening, a young lieutenant falls into step beside you on the path around the facility grounds. He asks what separates an officer who advances from one who doesn't. You look at him for a moment. You say, knowing the difference between what you believe and what you say. He nods. He writes it in his study journal. He will interpret it as advice about ideological discipline. He is not wrong. But what you mean, what 39 years of service inside a system built to consume the people who serve it has left you knowing, is something no rank, no evaluation, no document ever stated clearly. The system was never designed to reward loyalty. It was designed to extract it from everyone, at every level, until nothing is left to give. The officers who climbed highest were not the most loyal. They were the most precise about when to display it, when to conceal it, and when to ensure that someone else's name sat one line above theirs on a document before the audit arrived. You were good at that for a very long time, until you weren't. The rank doesn't end at a ceremony or a verdict. It ends in a classroom in the province where you were born, in a uniform stripped of its weight, teaching lessons you no longer fully believe, to young men who look exactly as you did the morning the letter arrived at your father's kitchen table.